what's behind that box right there. It's a Curt receiver hitch. It's basically just going to bolt right up to factory locations, but I'm going to have to, come on, focus. I'm going to have to treat these areas right here because they're kind of not looking so hot. So we're back in the What's Up Guy garage, just as a continuation on this Toyota RAV4. I've got a few tools lined up to show you what you're going to need to go ahead and install this hitch. Number one, you're going to obviously need a hitch of some type. Obviously, you don't have to go with this manufacturer. This is actually Curt manufacturing with a nice Curt wiring harness. I'm going to go ahead and use my rigid regular just drill with a 1/4 inch drive bit on the end of it, just to help go ahead and take out a couple of 10mm bolts that you have to take out. And I'll show you all the bolt locations and how to go ahead and pop some of these panels. It's actually really easy to do. And obviously for me, I'm going to use my 1/2 inch impact gun, 2 different types of Phillips bit, a regular Phillips screwdriver, and then one of the big boys, which you can see the difference in the head size of the screwdrivers. And I think one is a, I think this is a number 3, and I believe this is a number 4. I honestly can't remember, and it's never really mattered to me, but some people out there in YouTube land are, you know, pretty specific. Somebody even wine-bagged. Never mind. Anyways, then my son bought me this 1/4 inch drive, nice Pittsburgh ratchet. You're going to need a 17mm or an 11/16. 17mm is actually what you need, and that is, I'll show you, that is for the bolts taking this bracket off right here, which it's not a toe bracket. It's most likely it's a bracket for when they strapped it down for shipping purposes. But these bolts right here are going to have to come off. And like I was saying, you can either use an 11/16 or a 17mm. Then the other one that you're going to need is you're obviously going to need a 10mm. I'm going with a deep. I'm using a 6-inch extension. When in reality, this really isn't a 6-inch extension. Once you put the piece on here, on the end of the anvil, and then you put a socket on it, it ends up only being like, what, a 4 1/4 inch extension. So I don't know why they call them 6s, but probably because it's measured from tip to end. And then just a little shorty 3-inch extension, they call it, for the 10mm. So you don't have to have this, because what I'm going to end up doing is I am going to end up using that, but just one of those things that, you know, you can use regular stuff, but obviously I'm just going to use what's going to make my life a lot easier. So anyways, go ahead and get after this. This is a 2008 Toyota RAV4. This does have the 3rd row seating. So first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and access this panel right here. This is called either a scuff or a kick plate, and you can see it's got a good use for its name. So you can see all the scuff marks on here. So go ahead and you want to lift up these seats if you do have the 3rd row. Let's get those things out of the way. And all that's going to do is just give you access to this panel right here, and I'll show you how to take that off. So there are actually clips, or there should be clips. I don't know exactly how many are here, but I'm assuming this panel right here is locked into this panel here. So there's probably something there, as well as that end right there. And then there's going to be at least, like, I'm going to guess there's like between 4 to 6 clips probably holding the rest of this panel on. And then there might be something down here, more like something that locks something into a channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the camera up kind of like this, I guess. Does that work? Kind of show you the way I do this. So you want to reach in, and there's space. Once you push that carpet down, you can see this panel kind of, you know, you can get your fingers in there, and just be careful because you're dealing with sharp plastic in this way. But you basically want to get your fingers under there and give it a pry up, just like that. Sounds like you're breaking stuff, but like I've said before, you're not. So, what's funny is I didn't really hear actual individual pops because the piece is so rigid, it just pulled up by itself. So, let's see how many clips we got here. So what did I say, 4 to 6? So here's those little locking tabs for the ends. Lock into those little squares right there. That's sandy, huh? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, look at that, 6. And then you can see right there, these little pieces right here, they do have like a little nub on the end of them, and those obviously clip down into these 2 metal sections right here. And then you got a Phillips right there, so I'll kind of like bring it out a little bit. So you got a Phillips bit right there. You got that larger Phillips bit right there. Looks like you got another Phillips bit right there. That's nothing. That's I don't know what that's for. It must be for like some type of like a sunshade or something. There's actually, let me get my flashlight. These Braun flashlights are great. So you can see there's a 10mm bolt there. And then down here, yeah, so right there, then you get another 10mm right there. And this is obviously just a power outlet. Doesn't look like there's really anything in there. And then taking this little access panel off. Boy, it looks like this has never been opened. That literally looks like it's untouched. Look at that thing. It's got like dust on it. I guarantee that's probably never been touched. That's actually pretty cool. So, anyways, we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to take this panel off. Real easy to do. Set up the camera right there. This will be, we'll just do this like real time. Can you see everything? Yeah, I think you can. You can't see that one, but I'll be able to move that out of the way. So I've got my 1/4" bit, my little extension, because I know this one right here, that's pretty deep in there. See if I can illuminate the situation here. Yeah, I'll tell you, this light's great. That works, I think, right? Yeah. I'll just kind of do this that real time thing. There we go. And then just make sure you don't lose your parts. Just kind of stick them in a place where they're kind of out of the way. Phillips right there. It's a regular Phillips. I think they, like I said, I think they call this a number 3. Again, I'm not really up on what the exact number meaning is. This one right here. And then this one right here, being a gigantic one, right in this section right here, right there, I don't know what that is, whether if that's like some kind of structural something. I know this is with a seat belt, so the seat belt usually clips into there like that, so I'll just leave that like that for now. But that's where this one comes in handy. And this one, oh, that one, he knew that was going to be tight. If you weren't able to, yeah, geez, boy, that's a big boy. Wonder why that one is so, like, stout. All it's doing is holding in a piece of plastic. I don't know. Anyway. And then there's one that's right down and in there. If you can see that. going to do is put the little 1/4-inch drive thing on there. Make sure this is in reverse. Yeah, look at that. So that's obviously not structural, but it's definitely a, it's what they call a tie down, a D-ring. So this is like a mini D-ring. Must be one on that side too, right? Yeah, another D-ring on that side. And then basically the same thing on this side too. Big stout one there, little guy, 10mm, little guy, and that's about it. Anything under this panel? Nothing under that panel, so that panel can pretty much stay in place. Check the other panel. Looks like we're just gonna be vacuuming. Alright, so now, the reason why we're actually taking, believe it or not, those panels off, it's basically to feed the wiring harness through, because the type of plug unit that I got, you can see what it does is it actually plugs into each individual brake light. So there's going to be a wire that's going to go into this brake light and probably attach, my guess it's like one of those pass-through connectors, I think. I haven't opened up the package yet, but you know, doing as many as these things as I've done, installing hitches and doing toe mounts for cars, taking the whole front end off of a car. I've done a bunch of those. But anyways, with these style, you're not going to really take the this tail light or anything. This is basically so that it's to feed the wire. So I'm probably going to mount the unit, depending upon how long the wiring is. I might see if I can just mount it on this piece of deadener that's right there. Let's get that light. So that's like a sound deadener right there in the middle of the panel. Probably just helps with sound deadening. But this right here, that's the I bet this has one of those gas doors, right? Yeah. So that has one of those pull cables for a gas door. See, the camera can see way better than I can. I can't even see inside this hole, but so let's try this. So this is a good idea. So I'm gonna take the camera. I'm actually gonna mount it. So you can see, you can actually see the connector in there. See the back of the light? So I'm actually, you know what's funny is that I'm actually looking at my monitor from the outside. So this one, right here, that's the one we're taking off. And if I look at the monitor close up, believe it or not, it actually makes it so that I can see which way the clip is. So my hand will probably be in the way. I gotta figure out, can I, maybe if I take this and throw it down. And then put the light inside. Can't see nothing. Anyways, I'm just trying to see if there's a way I can put this camera in. So this is like mag mount, which is cool, but I also don't want it to be in my way. I think. Something like that might work. Nah, stupid light. It's not a stupid light, it's actually a wicked cool light. So, you can't really see the clip, but the clip, I I know I'll be able to feel it. Where is it? So it's right here on the edge. So right at the very end, there's like a clip you kind of pull down on. And this camera actually might be upside down right now. What you do is you push down on the clip as you pull on the plug. Come on, get out. Just like that. See? See how that's unplugged now? Need my coffee too. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. Go to what do they say? Gotta represent. So this is a cup that my daughter gave me a long time ago. I think this cup's going on like maybe 10 years or something like that. I don't know. But she got it in New Hampshire when she went on a trip, so. Coffee. Nice. So I'm actually going to do this as like a quick little add-on. We talk about how these things, they really are easy to do. But sometimes you have to modify your thinking if you don't have the ability or the potential strength. So like when I was saying, couldn't figure out, I still don't understand why these are so stout. I mean, that's a beast. It's almost like it's some kind of like a strength hook. It's like you hook something in there or something. But anyways, it took some strength to undo that with this. That was it was two-handed. So the other thing that you can do, you can always put a wrench, vice grips or whatever around that piece and makes it easier. Some screwdrivers actually have like sections where you can put a socket on it or whatever, but yeah, I mean, don't give up, just, you know, go for it. So obviously where the jack goes, so that's obviously on the other side, there's obviously where the jack handle and all that stuff is, but anyways. Get them all here. Yeah. And again, like I said, so all you're doing is basically just pulling it away so you'll be able to feed that connector in and through. So, I got some connectors on this side. I don't know what we're looking at here. So I'll have to see what all that stuff is. So, yeah, we'll check that out. Oh, that's for the light on the door and the wiper and the defrost. So that's what that plug is for. So, and then basically it's the same thing. You're gonna reach in. The clip is actually gonna be on the top. It's towards the back side of the plug, and you gotta just pull it down, and you're pulling out just the gray piece. So it's like a socket piece that goes inside of that. I think, yeah, it's white little connector. So, but there we go. So this is all apart now. Literally, what did that take? Just a couple minutes, because that's literally all it takes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down below, and we're going to go ahead and attack those bolts right there, those bad boys. So again, this is just using that supposed 6-inch extension that they call it, and I'm using my 17mm socket and a my 1/2-inch drive impact. Easy work of it. How did I know that was going to hit? I think you can see still, right? Yeah. So actually it looks nice and clean now underneath there. So that would be typical. This is either going to be dirt. This is most likely some rust, but It's not bad, but I because I'm putting, all right, which way is the camera facing? So because the hitch is going to be going up against this metal surface here, we're not going to be able to get this flat unless I go ahead and take care of this rust. Because believe it or not, it's actually, I don't know if you can see by that camera angle right there, this light kind of messing things up or what. So if I can get that camera angle just right, you'll be able to see that this section right here is kind of bubbled down. And what I want to make sure of is when I do this, yeah, might have to chase those threads too. Look at those threads in there. You see those? Obviously these are going to be brand new because they were used and covered. But those ones, they look kind of crunchy. So I might have to chase that with a tap, or just use it a dry bolt, and should be able to use what came on the car itself. And then we get the other side. So then on the other side there isn't anything but rust and threads that I'm gonna have to chase. So what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to end up sanding those rusted surfaces nice and flat, and then chase those threads using either this section or this section of it, most likely for this because of the size bolt. It's going to go in and basically be able to clean up those threads inside of there. You just run that in first, kind of clean out all the rust and stuff and junk that's been in there and collecting for a while. So, but yeah, that's just one of the other tools that you can go ahead and use just to help clean up the threads inside. So there's certain things like you don't know what to show. It's like I was saying, as far as like running in this tool right here, and I'm trying to do stuff. I need a light. I'm trying to do things like I had said on this video, kind of real time, so you actually see what's going on. It does take up more of the video, which maybe some people get aggravated by, but whatever. The video's here just to basically show you that, it could be done. So you go ahead and you take this tool right here and you basically just, come on. Can I get a light in there? Maybe like that or something? I don't know. Basically just take this tool and, see that rust in there? You run this tool in and you can kind of twist it in just like you'd be twisting in threads, and it kind of, you can see it's kind of like threading itself in. And the other thing that I'm noticing is this exhaust. I am going to have to move that exhaust out of the way, and depending upon how that's done, it's probably just going to be maybe like releasing that piece right there with my exhaust clamp plier things that I've got, and then this one right here as well, just to be able to kind of move the exhaust. Just move the exhaust that way, and that way I can also get to that hole a little bit better. You can see, just run that tool right in, and it cleans it up. Nice. Let's see if I can get some of that stuff out of here. Gotta be careful with this stuff. These things are sharp. Crunchy. Look at that, huh? See, look at those threads. Now that looks nice. I got crap all over the lens. But that looks nice. We'll go ahead and we'll attack that hole next. And then on this side, grab the wrong light. And then on this side, right here, you can see that hole's, mint. That hole's garbage. So we'll go after that hole as well. But you know, sometimes you don't know really what to show, because you know, people sometimes, I don't know, whatever, just deal with it. So I think this is recording the way I wanted it to, but I wanted to show you one of these tools. This is an exhaust hanger clamp removal tool, and I've always liked this thing just for literally what it does. And it's very basic in what it does. It's also very valuable. Some people have said, you don't need those, but I mean, I'll show you. All right, so this thing is totally, you know, rusted, crudded up. This spade section right here obviously is going to go against the back side, because we're trying to take this and bring it that way. And you basically just put that tool on there, give it a squeeze, and look at that. That is why I love this tool. Now we'll go ahead and do the same thing. This one right here. There, I think you can see. Eliminate. And this is just basically just getting this exhaust out of the way. This one obviously isn't as rusty, but you just put the tool in there, make some room for yourself. Oops. See? That is why I like this tool. It makes it so much easier. And now I'll be able to kind of just basically just push that exhaust out of the way. It'll give me clearance to go ahead and grab that bolt right there. So now the undercoating stuff that I was saying that I'm going to use in that area, in between basically the factory, you can kind of call it the frame. In a sense, that section of the body of the car is a frame. And I'm just using the Rust-Oleum undercoating stuff right here for truck bed liners and whatever. It says it's corrosion resistant, deadened sound, and it's rubberized. So, and it's just something that's going to be kind of like that added layer of protection. I already basically just took I actually took this. So I took one of my pry bars that I use for scraping metal like that, and basically you just kind of scrape all the chunky rust off, and then whack it with a hammer and just kind of get any of the other blobs off. And then took some 80 grit and just sanded it down, then washed it down with enamel reducer. And then now I'm just going to go ahead and spray this stuff right here. So we're all sprayed up. I'll just show you what it looks like real quick. So right under there. That's basically what it's going to look like when we're done. Just let it cure up for a little bit, or set up. The other side, looking like this. I went a little overboard just because there was, you know, just some rust in that area, and why not go ahead and kind of just coat it. But that's what it looks like right there. Nice and undercoated. Like I said, it's just Rust-Oleum stuff, but it is going to give that extra level of protection in between, especially in between the two metal surfaces, seeing that there was obviously open rust there, and we wanted to go ahead and just, you know, cover that. So, but yeah, that's what it looks like now. So, looks a lot better, looks nice and clean. So sometimes part of that situation with needing to have the tools to get the job done. So what I ended up doing is I did actually have to use a tap, because the threads were so bad, you know, living in New England. Basically just had to chase the threads with a tap. I actually used my liquid silver stuff there, my anti-seize lubricant right there, just as a kind of a help to catch the chunks of just garbage that were in there. But you can see how much better those threads look now, and then obviously with that little extra coating of the anti-seize, it's just going to help the situation. But that's just one of those things where sometimes maybe the job is beyond you. You just got to kind of weigh it out. You can start this, and if you can't do it, you know, go ahead and buy yourself a tap set. There's nothing wrong with having a tap and die set, but maybe sometimes, you know, you just leave it to the professional. That's because that's what they have. They have all the tools needed. You can normally get this done without any issues, but because of living in the Rust Belt in New England, sometimes you run into little issues like this. But like I said, just ran a tap in there, just cleaned up the threads, and they're looking a lot nicer now. So just one of those truth be told things. As you can see, what I was trying to explain in that little section, running that tap in and through, sometimes the job kinda is maybe beyond the capability of an individual, maybe a homeowner, and you kind of have to determine whether if you want to tackle this job. Now you can go ahead and start it, and as long as you're not breaking anything or destroying stuff, it's just one of those things where experience, you know, the only way you're going to get experience is actually by doing the job. But yeah, I mean, it's not hard. It's just sometimes you run across problems, and if you don't have the right stuff, it can turn into more of a problem. Fortunately, I've, you know, been doing this kind of stuff for a couple of years now, and I've got enough tools to go ahead and kind of handle almost every situation. But you know, like I said, I always say, take it for what it's worth. Don't be scared. I don't know how to explain this. This is kind of like, I guess you kind of call these an idea like a pro tip. So before you go ahead and try to put the hitch on, what you should do is just make sure that your fasteners do run into these holes. And then if you need to add more lube or whatever, you can go ahead and do that. It's just kind of like if you get under here and you're not prepared and you start trying to run bolts and they're not going in, I mean, you can see how nice and smooth these are going. So it's just like one of those things, just go ahead and start your bolts into your holes, make sure it's all set, and then if you have to add more lube, just go ahead and do that. But that's just like a little tip. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and basically position, we get the hitch, you know, laid out on the ground. We've got our bolts all set to go. We've got our socket on our extension with our ratchet, and I'm going to start it by hand first. But the most important thing is not getting punched in the face with this hitch, because if you do, you're going to feel it and you're not going to like it. So just kind of like, just be careful with what you're doing. If you have a second person or a helper, that's definitely a help on something like this. But I've done a number of these, so I don't plan on punching myself in the face. But you never know. Probably wouldn't like it. Just make sure you get your fasteners all set, ready to go. It is safer to have two people, but like I said, I've done this before, so I'm gonna have an issue. I don't intend on getting punched in the face by this thing, but you can. I'll tell you right now, it would hurt. So get a few threads started on that thing, so you know it's not going to go anywhere. Just go over to the other side. Things lined up pretty nice. And these are slotted, so there is room for adjustment. So you can see what I did. See stuff. So I basically just ran the bolt up to basically, you know, hand tight, and then the same thing on this side, ran it up to hand tight, and then now I'm going to go ahead and drive in those ones, and then basically centerize it within the back here. Looks nice. That side's obviously slightly dropped only because it's not tight like this side, but just want to make sure that this is, you know, in place, and then basically install the forward fasteners. We did the rear or the aft fasteners. Now we're just going to install the forward ones. here. The clamp is basically just in place just to kind of hold the exhaust pipe out of the way for now. Oh, I'm doing this if it can. Come on. Come on. Grab the other fastener. Start it by hand. Don't use an impact yet. Start everything by hand. That way you know you're not going to have any cross thread issues if you're not familiar with how to use an impact gun. So here we go. So we're all started. So now what I'm going to do, let's make sure that this thing is pretty much centered. And you can see there's a gap on the washer there, and there's a slight gap there. And I just want to basically make this even. Pretty good. Even gap. Even gap. Looks good on the frame. And I'm just going to give it a tweak. This side, give this side a tweak. This side a tweak. Back this out again, just a touch. Now you're going to want to tighten this down to probably around 80 to 100 foot-pounds. I'm going to check the manual, because the manual will actually tell you how many foot-pounds that they want this thing torqued down to, and we're looking at torque specs. Alright, so what they're actually looking for is they're looking for 86 foot-pounds. So let's go see what my gun actually did. Alright, so we got a torque wrench down, we got a torque wrench out, and we got it set for 86 foot-pounds. So let's see what we got. There. Grab you onto this side here. I think you can see, right? Can you see in there? Bolts right there. Yeah. So I just got like a, what, 1/8 of a turn out of that one. There you go. Now we're tightening down to the factory spec of what they were looking for, 86 foot-pounds, using the torque wrench. And yeah, so now we can go ahead and remove the packing material that is surrounding this. Now that we're all installed there. Go. So that's the hitch all installed. Now all we have to do is just go ahead and hook up the wiring, and we'll be good to go. So that's all for installing this bad boy right here. Trash cart carrier. That's kind of like a separate install. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and attack the wiring. Really easy to do. The other part of the installation for this hitch is go ahead and install this Curt custom wiring harness. Part number's right there, 56165, and it's just towing wire. So it basically gives you the 4-wire flat plug, which is typical of you know, any kind of vehicle such as this. And then gives you what I call pass-through connectors. So basically what happens is, you can see this end right here is actually going to plug into the light, and then that section that we unplugged is actually going to plug into that, and it has both a left and right side, so everything will function normally. So let's just get this going. So it comes with obviously your instruction manual. We will look at that just for left and right side. So, and it comes with your all your wiring, looks like. So what are we looking at here? So we've got one side yellow brown, the other side green and red. So we need to see what we're looking at here. Right here, this is the plug. Yeah, so what we're looking at is it is exactly that. It's a pass-through connector. So pass-through on both sides. That's what I call it. Maybe there's a different word for it, but I just call it a pass-through just because basically it's connected. The signal is technically kind of like passing through in a way. So for now I'm just going to leave this kind of bunched up. We don't need that to be all over the place yet. We'll save that for later. So let's see what the instructions say on this particular one for the wiring diagram. Gives you tools needed, ratchet, 10 minutes. Oh, so that's basically just telling you how to take it apart. So we're gonna have to run a power wire, obviously, to the positive terminal of the battery. It is fused, and looks like there's a bunch of bullet connectors or something. Yeah, so you get some couple of not bullet, actually butt connectors. So we get a couple of butt connectors. Looks like we got some double-sided sticky tape. We've got a fuse, that's a 10 amp fuse, a bunch of zip ties, and a little couple cable ties or something. I don't know what the heck that is. What's that one for? I don't know. Let's just look at the instructions here. Now, as far as this wiring goes, I'm fairly confident that, so this is your power wire right here, and most installations that I have seen from the factory or whatever is they seem to, well, aftermarket, is the quick and dirty way is to go ahead and usually run it like around or alongside brake lines or fuel lines or evap return lines, things like that, because it basically is going from the rear of the vehicle all the way to the front, but that's external. I like to try to keep as much wiring as I can inside. That way I feel there's kind of like less, I guess, elements or chafing or things like that that can happen. So what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to attempt to go ahead and, let's see if I can get my flashlight here. I'm going to attempt to run my wiring. I don't know if you can see in there. So I'm going to run my wiring down there, and I'll kind of take you through this process right now. So this is the driver's side, and this is that inner panel that you just saw going down here, and here's a scuff panel. So I'm going to pull up on that scuff panel right here. Yep. So fortunately on this, those panel retention clips stayed in place, and they basically go into there and there. And then some weather stripping here. Yeah, so there you go. Alright, so you can actually see there's the factory wiring right there. So I'm going to actually run my wire right down alongside here, and I'm going to go in through all these little factory locations here. on this side here. Do the same thing here. Pop this little panel. It's easier doing this with two hands, but still get it done. Must be something else kind of holding this in place. So it looks like there's like some type of like little screw grommet right there that I'll have to release. So there's that wire channel that I was saying, and then you'll be able to, because there is a hood pop right here, and there's basically wire loom, so we know that the hood pop has got to be coming through here somewhere. So there's your hood pop wire right there, and you follow that back down and in there. And way down and in there, probably can't see it, that's where the wiring comes through the firewall. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and keep things like in that factory style location. I think it's a cleaner way of doing it, less chance of chafing, and you're running the wires internally, and I just feel it's safer, so that's the way I'm going to do it. So when you're doing this, you obviously have to think about where you're going to mount your module, where your wires are going to go. Obviously this is going to be for the driver side connector, and then routing all the way for your passenger side connector for your lights. And then this right here, this white wire, is obviously for ground, and you need to determine whether if you're going to use an existing location or if you're going to, you know, drill a new location. And what I would rather do is I would rather use an existing location. Now they give you a double-sided sticky tape, which you're going to put on the back side of this, and then obviously adhere somewhere in there. And after looking, we'll be able to take the actual hitch wiring, or the actual light wiring for the hitch, and that will basically sit right inside this pocket right here. And that should be for a nice clean install. And like I was saying, because, you know, we've already got this panel kind of off, bring you around here, that so what you do is you just go ahead and effectively pop the rest of the panel. Like I was saying, you know, snap tight, that's the way these cars are nowadays. And then you'll be able to see right inside there, we'll be able to get that wire to pretty much go the whole way. That camera can see in there, but I can see in there. I don't know if you can. But right inside there, we'll be able to get that wire and then bring that wire right down this channel. Keep it right in those little factory clips, which will be nice. And then bring it all the way through. And like you already saw, we took out this panel right there. And then that basically, if I can get the camera up in here. So that bundle right there that the light is shining on, you can see that there's the cable. So that cable, come on, the cable that's, I can't tell if you can't even see what I'm doing. So this cable right here, this is the hood pop, and I'm gonna take my wire and basically feed it right through in that area right there, and that should do the trick. I will take off this panel here too, just to make it easier for me to access. It'll just be easier. So just gotta take out that little funky fastener right there. I don't know what size that is. Maybe a 12mm or something, who knows. And then wire it right up to the battery and be good to go for this panel. And we've got, I did say that it looked like maybe it was like a 12 or whatever, or maybe an 11, but it's actually a 10. And it's one of those ones that it's a push on but a twist off. So you can twist it off, but then you can see it's that style where you can actually push it on, and then go ahead and basically just kind of pull that panel away, get it right out of the way, And then, yeah, so there you go. So now we got access. And then going inside here, so basically our wire is going to come right through these channels. We're going to follow it up the body of the inside of the car. We might like wire tie it to the wire loom that we've got here just to keep things secure and out of the way. And then up and inside there, here's the hood latch. I don't know if you can see the wire going, but we're going to go ahead and feed that wire in through there, and that's just how I like to do it. I like to try to keep as many wires inside as you can. I don't agree with running them on the outside unless you absolutely have to, like a pickup truck. That's something different. You run it as much as you can in the cab, and that's what I've done with my truck. You run as much as you can in the cab, and then you just dive out the back somewhere. So but yeah, so just make sure you keep all your stuff together. And so right there, in case you didn't know, on a 2008 Toyota RAV4, there's your OBD2 port right next to your hood pop, and it's on the left side of your body, right above where the little footrest pad is, and that's just for diagnostics. Sometimes they're over on that side, on this vehicle, right there. So what I kind of decided to not do was film the process of trying to run that wire. It's one of those things you got to figure it out yourself. I showed you how I'm going to do it. That's how I'm going to do it. I might film the placement of the module, but trying to like drag this camera around and shoot every aspect of where the wiring goes. You saw where it's going. That's my intention. I'll show you the after. But that's about it. I might show like trying to feed that wire in through the firewall, because that might be a little bit of a hassle. And it's like one of those things where I'm trying to do like one of those videos that's like a real-time video in a way, but I'm not gonna run that. I'm not gonna show you that one wire running that. That's nuts. I don't know. It'll probably take me more time trying to film it and get the correct angles and hitting the stupid camera off, figuring out lighting, all that craziness. But anyways, I mean, all this stuff, I don't want to like insult people or anything like that, but I mean, all this stuff technically is easy to do. There's tons of videos out there nowadays, where before people like myself and another guy, Joe Daddy's Garage, we had to learn the hard way. There was really no instructional thing on how to do this stuff. We had to figure it out. So there's a ton of people out there that do that. And enough of my ramble. Let's get to mounting this wire into position, get it hooked up to the battery, and yeah, there we go. I figured maybe what I could do is just do like little clips. So we're leaving basically just a couple feet of wire inside the back of the vehicle, and what I did is I ran it down and in through here. I actually brought it up and over and then worked it behind all those clips that are right there, and I brought it down. You can see it's actually in that little clip right there, and what that clip is that's actually for the gas door right there. Ran it down, clipped it right into there, went through this little wire loom clip, that one right there, straightened out the wire, and then basically just shot it in and through. And then don't close the door on the wire, but so there's the wire right there, shooting it in and through. And then obviously as you pull on the wire, you can see it's recording. Actually, is it wrong? So as you pull on this wire, you can basically see it feeding in and through. What you want to make sure is you don't get loops that won't come out. So once you start getting a loop like that, just go nice and easy. And you just pull it straight and you should be good to go. Hopefully that works. And then basically same thing. Just kind of push that into place, push it into place, push it into place. And then we'll work on getting the rest of the wiring in and up through the firewall right now. Maybe somebody will want to see it. It's going to make this into a majorly long video, but you never know. Might be worth it to somebody to see the actuality of it, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Is you want to make sure that you go ahead and kind of like take the wire and bring it on the outside of the car to make sure that you've got enough length, because once you start putting all these things through these little cable looms and all this other stuff, if all of a sudden you run out of room, you know, let's just say you're like, you know, 6 inches short. I mean, that would kind of be a bummer. So I already did that, went on the outside of the car. I've got the wire fairly straight right now. And what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna start kind of looping it in through the back side of things. And I wanna get it through that spot right there. Man, I kind of knew the camera was gonna be in the way. But I want to try and feed it in. I'll force it in through that same little spot right there. Because I know there's movement in that cable. It's just going to be tough because I got all these cameras and lights and stuff in the way, and I don't know if you can actually see stuff. But it's following this cable right here. There's a hole that obviously goes through the firewall. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show you how to get it in and through there without being in the way myself. So it's going to be kind of like maybe trial and error here, trying to get this in and through. Trying to feed it through the same spot. So what I was able to do is you can actually see there's like these little V grooves in that rubber boot that's right. I'm using the screwdriver to try to show you. So you see where the tip of the screwdriver is? Can you see it? Can you see it? All right, right there. So see where the tip of the screwdriver is? So that's basically where our new wire is going through. It's through the very bottom. You have to be careful poking stuff, but what I did is I took a little bit of lubricant and I put it on the edge of the screwdriver and very carefully just kind of pushed it through. And you have to be careful not to go ahead and, you know, chafe up against any wires or anything like that. Because otherwise then you're going to end up with, you know, wiring issues, and we don't want to have that. But so now you can see the wires pulled through. Take the camera out because we don't need the lights in here anymore. So I actually had both of my Braun welding flashlights illuminating everything. And now you come into the engine compartment. Close that nice and easy. Come in the engine compartment and check it out. You see right. This light's probably too bright. What do you see right there? That's the wire. So that actually worked out really well. So gonna go ahead and grab that wire, pull it through, and we're just gonna leave it at that length that we've got right there, because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the negative side of the battery terminal. That way there's no power going through the system. We're gonna pop this cover off, and that right there, that's an accessory connection right here. So this is an accessory connection. So we're going to undo that, and hopefully the wire that we've got, or at least the connector, is going to fit over that fit over that bolt right there. So, but that's what we're going to go ahead and do. There's our wire. It's all internal. Didn't have to run anything underneath. You just got to be careful with what you're doing. You know what I mean? Just take it easy. Take your time. Think about what you're doing. It took me a little bit, you know, looking inside there, making sure that I wasn't going to grab anything or poke anything bad. So, and I'll be able to basically just, you know, zip tie to that section, run that right down and in, basically follow that hood pop, and it'll be a nice, clean, factory-looking install. I might even run it down along these wires, who knows? And that way it's coming up against that wire right there. Just keep everything nice, and yeah, that's just the right way to do things. It does take a little bit more time, but I mean, when you think about this, if you're doing it, this is your vehicle, so take the extra time to do it right. I'm not saying that running it underneath is the wrong way to do it, but that's what they call the quick and dirty way. You just get it done. And for this vehicle, we didn't have to do that. Kept all the wires inside. Everything's better protected that way. And now let's go ahead and disconnect that negative so that no more power is running through. And then undo that little connector there and start running the rest of our red wire. So that's a black wire. Usually designates negative or ground, but we're switching to red now, and we're good to go. Take your 10mm wrench. I think you can see that. 10 right there. Can you see it? 10 millimeter wrench. Just go ahead and loosen up your ground. Your ground. Go ahead and loosen up your negative cable, and then this side obviously is going to be bigger, so we'll figure out what that is. Probably like a 12 or something. Yeah, so that side's a 12. Go ahead and loosen that up. Put it down on your factory tray, which is right here, so you don't lose stuff. And we're going to, this red wire right here, that's what's going to be installed there. And I think what I may end up doing, just because it's just the way I like to do things, what I may end up doing, I'm going to end up doing it like that, but I feel like I want to, solder this joint and heat shrink it instead of using those stupid butt connectors. Alright, so we're just going to do something different. I can't get the tablet to connect right now. It's freaking me out. So what we're going to do is I am going to use a butt connector. I still have heat shrink tubing on there. I usually don't like using butt connectors, but this is driving me insane, so we're going to go ahead and use one. So I absolutely hate butt connectors, but you got to use what you got, right? Crimp that. Crimp this side. And then what I was hoping, it's going to take that heat shrink tubing, slide it into there, slide that one into there, take the big boy, I'm going to slide that over the entire, both of them, and then hopefully that will create a nice little seal. So let's see if that works. Oh, awesome. So we got our power back. We'll go ahead and finish heating this up. So that looks a lot better. I'd rather have it look like this. So as a continuation for what we got going here, see, you got the connector all connected up. We get the butt connector fully encased in a nice heat shrink tubing. I just like to see it that way. That way there's less chance of corrosion inside there. Now what we got to do is basically got to route the wiring through. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just place this on there for now. There's no power running through the system. Place it on there. Figure out where we want things to go as far as how we're routing this. We know we want the wire to go down and in there. Down and in there somewhere. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably zip tie it. I'll go up and around these wires here, zip tie it to there, and basically travel along the hood pop release cable. Basically just attach it to there with zip ties, and we'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and just get that done. So first thing I know what I want to do is I want to wire in. I want to actually route that wire down in there and bring it up and around. So just kind of just go like this for now. Bring that up and in. This. Wrap that down. That's pretty much it. That's literally all we wanted to do. Is I wanted to get that section down in there, and now we're going to basically work. We're going to basically work now backwards. And because I want things kind of covered up and looking nice, so I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop that, stick that on there, pop that cover back on, and that way we're not going to have any issues with that little piece there. Go ahead and put this back on. And it's basically like, you know, it's covered. It looks nice too. So that was a 12 millimeter, I think. Let's just get that 12 millimeter back on there. Make sure that wire's where I want it. And also make sure you're not like arcing from one side to the other. Tighten it down nice. And then you can basically see how we're going to want this. And I'll probably end up zip tying it like this so that it looks nice. Get that kind of out of the way in a way. So I'll zip tie it like this. That way it's out of the way of that. Yeah, you know, like that. Actually, that kind of looks pretty cool. So here are a couple of the zip ties that they provided. I'll go ahead and just loosely put it around there for now. That side. Same thing on this side. Just loosely around that section right there. Basically, I want to be able to like, I just want it to look nice. You know what I mean? So, crank that one down. Go ahead and do the same thing for this side. Crank this one down. And that way it has a nice visual, I guess, appeal in a way. Be able to snip that, we'll be able to snip that, route this wire down, and I'm going to actually wrap, so I don't know if you can see that, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wrap that section where we had that tie, not the tie, the connector. I keep calling it a bullet connector, but it's not a bullet connector. So I'm going to wrap that like this, bring that down and around. Alright, maybe not. Try it again. Just wrap it. Okay. Third time's the charm, right? I think that's what they call it. Grab it. So this time, wrap this around. And then basically just zip tie it like that around that wire right there. And that way everything is looking nice, nothing's going to be chafed. Work down in here, in this area down here. Bring that wire down. And I'll zip tie it location there. My hands will probably be in the way again. So what I'll do is I'll do it up here so it's out of the way, and then let it kind of slip down to where I want it, right around there somewhere. So a little bit so I can get it in there. Not that easy. So can you even see it? It's like right here. Yeah. I think you can see it. So anyway, just bring that wire down and in. Grab that zip tie. If I can pull that. Man, it's harder for myself here. That piece of garbage zip tie. Look at that. The zip tie broke right off. So anyways, that's fine. This is that wire. Bring it down and around. Stuff it in between that box right there. Panel pry tools to basically kind of get that into position. And then just kind of just stuff that wire down in there. Just like so. Got another one of these piece of garbage zip ties that already broke, and then we'll wrap it around right here. leave it kind of semi-loose. Good, just like that. Now what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to go inside the car now. And basically, yeah, you know what? I'll set this up right here. Boom, and you watch that loop right there disappear. Like that. Perfect. That's exactly how I want it to go. Put another zip tie right here, just to keep these together. It's probably going a little bit overboard with the zip ties, but I've got them, right? I'll use them. And just make sure you just cut all your zip ties off. Don't leave any stragglers. And the one that's down there broke off already, so that one's actually perfect. That's pretty much it. So you can see how that's rooted. It's nice. Everything's out of the way. Not going to be any chafing or anything. Flashlight in there so you can see what it looks like. This comes up and over and then goes down to the firewall. Into right inside here, and then you see how you've got like a little bit of a loop of wire here. So what I'll end up doing is illuminate the citrification for you. So now what it is basically just making sure that you tie up like what you would call these loose ends in a way. So I want to make sure that we give a little bit of wire slack, not too much, but we're not going to crank these down because I do want to have a little bit of, you know, movement for now. I'm going to bring this down and around here, right behind, and it's basically going right up against that wire loom that's right there. So, let's see. Some light on there. Nice. I tell you, these Harbor Freight lights are great. Alright, so now we can go ahead and just kind of pull that through. Okay. Put it kind of like underneath the rug, just like it is. And then look at that. Bring that across. So you can see we've got our little bit of a loop right here. So that's going to disappear as I come over to the other side. Car. Open up this door. Pull it through. Just like that. Absolutely beautiful. Now, let's come around this side. Basically the same thing. So I've got a whole bunch of things all attached here. Here we go. So let's see. There's your loop right there, and that's, I'm going to pull it from behind, and it's actually going to pull and go up and in. So watch. Open up the tailgate thing, and should be able to just give this a pull, and it should disappear. See that? Perfect. Love it. Now I just go ahead and put the weather stripping seal back on. Now that's like a factory install. See, that's nice because now that wiring is right up against those clips. It's right where it needs to be. You know what I mean? We're not going to have any chafing issues or anything. So now just put it back. And then basically, so this is how much wire we have left, and what I'll end up doing is I'll end up cutting it to, let's see, what do I got here? Got that much of a tail. So I'll end up just basically cutting it to there, so we're only cutting off, you know, a couple of feet. Those are the extra wire ties. That light right there. Boom. Look at that. These lights are great. And look at that. That's illuminated. And really not in the way either. So like I said, cut a couple feet off. Right there. A wire stripper. Strip off a little bit. Just enough to be able to connect into this connector for this right here. We already know how this is going to be mounted. That's the power wire for that. So that little white wire. So we're going to be installing it basically this way. So I almost think I might want to do it right there. But then again, I did say I was going to do it inside that body panel, so let's see. Does that work? That works. So you can see I'm going to take this connector, that's going to plug right into the light that's right there. Make sure that it's facing up, that little clip. See? Like that? Can you see it? It's hard reaching my hands in there. Right in there. Right there. That's it. Plugged in. Now what you want to do is you want to take your plug, which is this side, right here. You want to plug that into that piece. So, let's see if I can get my hands in here. So I can do it in front of the camera. Maybe not. Just don't leave any room for your normal size hands here. So basically, that plug plugs in this way, like that. See? That's plugged in now. I was saying, there's a screw. I think I might try to get these wires out of the way. Make sure that that goes down. Because I want to route this plug wire setup down there and over. So that's going to go down there. Basically going to pull it out here for now. Like that. Bring it in and around the panel here. See? Down like that right there. If that makes any sense to you. Take that wire all the way through. Like that, and then basically bring the wire all the way over to this side. Beam the light out of the way. So now I can kind of show you what I ended up doing here. So we're all wired in back here. See that? So we're all plugged in there. You can see the green and white wire, everything's all set, or green and red wire. And we dragged it right along this base right here, right up and into there. And then I'm leaving this coil right here so that the homeowner can go ahead and when she wants to use it, and I call her homeowner, it's just what I say. So the owner of the vehicle, that's where that's going to go. The actual unit is actually stuck onto the back side right here of that panel. I don't know if you can see that. So that's where the unit's hanging out, double-sided sticky tape, and the wires are all plugged in and connected. Now all you have to do is just make sure you press all these panels into place, like this one here. Just give that a pop, give that a pop. Same thing up there. Everything's just snap tight. Boom, all done. And then I just, took some cable ties and kind of just, zipped it around there, just to keep that loop nice and out of the way, so there's no issues. But now what you have to do is go ahead now and install that other panel. Man, this is tough. Yeah, I think right there. So, get all these little parts tray pieces. So we'll be installing these. Put that all up there. All these pieces, this is this side. And basically just take the panel and put it back into place. And that wire's just going to sit there in its new home. Perfect. All set. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and it's basically just, reverse operation, putting all those, pieces back in. Like obviously, this goes in here like that, with that piece going in there, this one. So that's gonna go right in there, and that's what that real big Phillips, I think they call it a number 4. So that's just gonna basically screw into there. That. And then all the other little pieces, like the D-ring pieces going back there, and yeah, so that's it. So put this little panel back on because I know that's all set. Down. Throw this little panel in there. Little baby Phillips right here. Get that D-ring with the 10mm bolt. That's going down there. It actually goes up in that up position. That's how it gets installed, like this. Goes into its little hole there. $10mm. That's not even a 10. Nice. Perfect. Yeah, looks good. Get that other little Phillips. Goes over there. So that Phillips one goes right here. And we got that other 10mm. into that hole right in there. That's it. On to the other side. I'm not gonna go through the whole process. It's just the reverse order of how we took it apart, so you know, that's it. Now it's basically just putting on all these little panels and such that need to go back into position to protect all these wires and whatever. So get that one in there. That was that little weird push on thing. So that pushes on there. All that's into place. And then, of course, this panel's holding up my screen. Come on, get out of there. Alright. So then it was this panel right here. And that basically press fits onto here. Like I said, everything on these cars is snap tight, so we're good. Make sure you grab all your tools, your lights, your screen, and all the good stuff. Smash your brown light on the ground. So kind of the last pieces of the puzzle, making sure that your positive terminal's all set, so we know we're good there. And then go ahead and connect up your negative terminal. Tighten that down. And then it came with that little 10 amp fuse, so go ahead and install that fuse in there. And then cover it up. And you're done. So that's it. So that was just whoops. So hopefully you enjoyed that long, probably drawn out video from What's Up Guy Garage. Just installing that receiver hitch and the wiring and how I go ahead and install that. So if you like the video, please go ahead, give it a thumbs up, share it if you want, subscribe to the channel, that'd be awesome. I need to get my sub counts up there, and you know, it is all putting content out there, and hopefully this is content that someone out there can use. So that's it. So thanks for watching this episode of What's Up Guy Garage. Thanks. Last time I used it, I broke the tip. They usually this is literally just a trial. I have no idea if this is going to work. Pro tip: make your own soldering iron things. Just lost both pieces. Probably need a higher wattage gun. Oh, what do they call it? Trial and error. I've got the engine compartment illuminated. More error than trial. So I actually kind of have to say it this way. Literally took me no time at all to find it, because guess what? It was actually in my toolbox. Take a 10mm. It's going to be one of those videos.